All right, welcome back to The Devil in Detail, the Grendel reread podcast. I'm Eli.
I'm Ben. It's episode 44. We're on the second issue of Devil's Legacy. That's the Christine Spar Grendel story. Oh boy.
Oh boy, oh boy. Again, we've got two versions to go through, the Kamiko and the Dark Horse, different coloring. And we're excited to get into it. But first, Ben, tell me about your week.
Good week making comics. Good week with my week with my little baby. I finally finished Michael Moorcock's Byzantium Endures.
Whoa.
I really enjoyed this book. I started before the baby, and I realized that if I had like 150 pages left, if I didn't finish it, I was never going to. Not because I didn't enjoy it, just because blah blah blah.
Life.
Prior to this, I had read about 500 pages of Elric's stories, and I would say I really liked about half of it. And a lot of that is in the beginning. So Elric of Melniboné is the first
thumbs
one.
Up. Yeah.
Thumbs up. The Dreaming City, which is a 60-page immediate follow-up to that, is excellent. And then book one of The Sailor on the Seas of Fate is tremendous. This is like way better.
Yeah.
And this is great stuff. And it's basically like so there's another Moorcock character named Jerry Cornelius, who's kind of this like British new wave sci-fi Doctor Who, James Bond, like Austin Powers kind of character.
Wow.
He's the character that Luther Arkwright is based on, basically, or like what's his name? What's that movie with RoboCop in it? Not RoboCop. The Hong Kong. Oh Jesus. The Hong Kong Cavaliers. What the rock and roll scientist? Buckaroo Banzai.
Oh, Buckaroo Banzai.
He's basically like he's this British Buckaroo Banzai from the 60s. Anyway, Jerry Cornelius's mother has a boyfriend who is a Ukrainian expat, and that's this character. Nice. So it's a wild thing. You can edit out some of my stammering like a fool. I also started penciling Oh Fuck Why issue 2.
Oh yeah.
I am, in order to make the nut, I have to do 5 pages in a week, and I think I can get about 1 to 2 pages done in a day, and that's always good news. So I'm
to get it fully penciled.
To get it fully penciled.
Fully penciled, okay.
Whatever that might
fully
mean.
penciled.
Yeah, whatever fully penciled means. But yeah, I think I was showing you like I sat down with like Mobius cityscapes and like the scene in Back to the Future 2 where they're on like the sky highway. Right. I was like, all right, I'll take this and this and this, and I think I did okay with it. It's
nice.
I had fun. If I'm having fun,
it looked good.
You better have fucking fun.
You better have fun.
What did you do this week?
Oh man, well, I was telling you I went on a little original art spree. I will blame my lust for original art as well as Four Roses.
Whiskey.
And but I mean, when you see a piece like this, you have to jump on it.
You buy
bubbles.
See 2 balloons.
You're like, I gotta buy these balloons. Nah, but check out what's under these balloons. Bum bum bum.
Wow. Devil May Care.
Original Devil May Care, the last page from issue 1.
Oh my god. I love how the so it's all by the same artist?
I guess so. I'm trying to figure it out, like, because it just looks like pens and watercolor, and it's all right there, man.
I love how the Skiff's Grendel eyes are just like they're just painted right on. Looks great.
It looks like colored pencil, honestly.
Wow. Super cool.
Yeah. This is amazing. I know.
Yeah.
And I found this on Comic Art Fans, and honestly, the price was not crazy at all. It was very good, and it's got coffee stains on the back, which is
even better.
That's how you know it's real. And another, as you said, just creating comics, working on stuff. We had our sweet Ringside Thology, which is our monthly zine making thing where this week we redid old art from childhood.
That's
So
a
I
great
had this
idea.
old Ninja Turtles drawing that I did, and I did like a new, 1-page comic where the last frame was like my drawing of this turtle. And
Oh, that's great.
I guess I tried to draw what I thought was the turtle van, but it really kind of looked like this cylinder. So I turned it into this like rocket ship, and Donatello lands and saves them. And Leonardo has a cape. So then I had to write in the narrative like he finds this cape and it gives him powers and stuff. So it was cool. It was really fun.
I think you could expand that concept into more than a one-time 3-hour block and
Yeah.
you could get a really great like anthology out of that.
Oh, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Like take
That's a
this
really great
one
idea.
frame. Like actually what our friend Burgess Meredith did, he had a big drawing thing that he did of all these different characters, and he just took out little pieces to make
Oh, cool. To make the
different
narrative.
frames. Yeah, it was great. That was really smart.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so then that was a lot of fun, and we're just prepping for a big comic symposium in the
Right.
ringside seats, which we have 2 very special guests for. I know that it already happened when you're seeing this, so I can just say we had Matthew Allison and Jim Rugg join us.
Oh, very cool.
Which was pretty amazing.
Wait, did that happen in real time already, or is that happening after we record the show?
It happens tomorrow.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
In real time, but in your guys' time, it was a week or 2 ago.
Time travel's amazing.
It's so cool. But I mean, I'm ready to time travel to the distant future of 2020 with flying cars and
Rotary telephone.
Christine Spar, yeah, and big tape recorders for
and not cell phones, but floating Zach Morris
floating phones. Yes, and the first appearance of Brian Lee Sung.
Absolutely.
All right, before we do that, let's get into the intro.
It's like the devil is my best friend. On the roads with the pen to the fork end, or till time end. Like Orion, Jupiter, my kin, bloodline private. We control the whole shit. The wolf won't beef, then we feast off the rip. Behold the devil in detail. Behold the devil in detail.
All right, welcome back to The Devil in Detail. Before we jump in here, I want to again thank Manus and Laserdisc for the killer theme, but I also want to shout out some of the music we talk about at the beginning and plays at the end. A lot of the piano Friend of the Devil was played by Adam King, who's a good friend of mine from Burlington, Vermont, now in Portland. But he did some amazing work, and I try to find like other Friends of the Devil that won't get us like flagged on YouTube. Some of the videos are flagged. If you're in another country and can't see one, it's definitely the reason. But I recently found Jazz is Dead piano version of Friend of the Devil, which I've been using because we are friends of the devil, if he has any.
Ding.
So shout, exactly, The Devil in Detail. We are back. 2 amazing covers, I think. One's a little more amazing than the other, for sure. But I seem to like this one more.
Okay, I think that's fair. I think that the thing that I came to realize in this project is that all of the Kimiko covers are actually wraparounds.
Right, that's true.
It really isn't fair to just show the front.
Right, yeah.
Because when you get the back, it has
I'll
this
have it up on the
real,
screen.
like what's the guy's name? Drew Struzan. Like it has this like crazy cinematic like Hollywood movie poster.
Yeah.
Like
And they keep
montage
doing
kinda
this
feel
thing
to it.
like the Grendel eyes in the car lights too.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
The coloring and the composition and just like all the different elements like telling me, I love knowing what I'm getting myself into.
Yeah.
And like when you look at these cars, this like cab and the flares, like I can totally hear that like Blade Runner like sound design of like the floating car purring as it yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And there's just like so much energy and mood and meaning in these covers, and I think that there are places where Tom Vincent is approaching that, and there are more places where Jeremy Cox approaches or hits the mark. And I still think that the tone and excitement and artistry of um of of the book. Like it's still, the colors still have kind of yet to meet the potential of the story and the art. And
Right.
I was sort of thinking, like, can you imagine what this would have looked like if it was done in blue line?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Right? And like that's sort of what I was thinking. But for all that, like backhanded kvetch compliment, like there are things that both versions do really really well.
Right.
And also that the Panders, I mean, the Panders are killing it, and so is Jay Geldof, who I don't think we really gave enough credit to last time.
Right. Hey, before we start, I did want to send a brief shout out to this other Grendel video that came out this week. You had sent
Right.
it to me. It's the full Grendel cycle. And at first I was like, "Bleh, get this, bleh, I don't want to look at it. Where the
Some
Grendel cast? Bleh." But I definitely, if I'm honest, I like to be honest, I felt like a little bit of like threatened by it or whatever. But it's like he did all of our work in 45 minutes. Like our entire cast, he covered it amazingly well in 45 minutes. It's like, it's a great piece. And you know what? It's interesting. And I think it's helpful to us in a way that someone could watch that video and then just pop in on any of our videos anywhere and
Yeah.
kind of get a fix on where it is in the cycle and not feel left out.
You're talking, of course, about Strange Brain Parts, one of the best comics content video essay channels on YouTube. I
Right.
discovered him probably before we met, and he's the guy that introduced me to Luther Arkwright, who I mentioned on
Earlier,
this
yeah.
on this podcast, which has become like one of my favorite comics. And just in general, his taste and analysis on various stuff. He has a great video on martial law,
Nice.
and it's really well done and thoughtful stuff. And there's even more Grendel videos in his back catalog.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
did he
has
do a Devil in Detail one?
he
Or
has
Devil
he
by the Deep?
has fuller videos on each part of the cycle,
Wow.
and this is sort of like his grand finale.
Maybe we need to get him on a cast. Maybe because I was thinking like, he
He
probably
seems like a
watched
very scripted guy.
to get like some ideas from that. We have good Matt content, So if you wanted to get maybe some freshened Matt content, he could have watched our videos to get some stuff, or probably just read the Tomorrow's Publishing.
Our 25 viewers, his thousands of viewers. There's a lot of cross promotion
A
here.
lot of cross promotion. Shout out to all the people who watched the last video though with Tim Sale, Teddy Christensen, and Dinah Schutz.
Much more than
it's our
25.
biggest. Yeah, it's our biggest one yet. All right, let's get back into it here. So on the first page, we're starting out. There's already many differences in from the Dark Horse to the Kamiko. I like that they removed some of the titles from the top, and we see like a fuller cityscape. And again, as we were talking about last issue, there's some confusion with different color text boxes. Like, is this Christine talking? Is this her writing? Is this someone else talking? And that's all
interesting.
That's all cleared up. Yeah. Because like in my brain, it immediately goes to like some of the Turtles stuff that they do where they'll use the Turtles mask color in the square to
that's cool.
show you who's
The
like
color
talking.
code it.
Right.
Yeah,
And
maybe
so-
maybe it would be codified where like things that she actually wrote in her journal versus things that she just thought in her head.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But then they completely take that out in the Dark Horse, so it must not have been that striking a narrative technique.
Yeah, I think I see it as Tom Vincent maybe having a little bit of a stutter step, maybe trying to do something that matches the tone, because the angry and punchy ones are always magenta, but it does.
Okay.
But there's not really much of like a system beyond that.
Here you go, ripping on Tom Vincent.
I know, right?
Tom,
Oh,
we
man.
love it. We love
We
it.
should throw up some of his Barry Windsor Smith storyteller pages. They're unbelievable.
Oh yeah, okay.
So
Here they
great.
are.
Yeah. So another thing that's going on with Tom Vincent that I love on this first page is that it's got that gradated like screen going on. And we talked about, there's one in the very last page of like on the lightning bolt and like on the lightning on her bosom. And here there's a lot more of that. This will be exciting for you. I reached out to Mr. Wagner. I like to spring my little mat tricks on you about what that's called, how it's done. I said, is it like when you're doing the color chart, do you do like a wet on wet with the Doc Martin to get it to fade to white or something? And Matt told me, I don't know. I had no idea.
He's like, I'm not the colorist.
I don't know. So yeah, but there's a lot more of that in this,
Right.
and there's even one panel where the entire panel is treated that way, and it's really a glimpse into what we were talking about on the blue line cover, where the tone of the book is really well established for just one panel. And don't worry, I'll let you know when we get there.
Yeah, so she's on her way to San Francisco. If we remember from the last book, Tujiro has taken her son, and his next gig is in San Francisco. So she boards a plane after she steals the mask and the fork, and she's like, "Forget you, New York. I'm out of here to fork San Francisco." So she's on the plane, and everything's running through her mind. She's like, "Anson, where are you? I'm bored on the plane. Finally, we're out. I'm grabbing a cab." And there's like this weird like racism towards Eskimos that happens. Like, is there any context for that?
That's the third time that's happened in the book so far.
Yeah.
I think it might be it. Okay, so I don't know. I wish we'd brought it up the first time. I think it either might be the name of a cab company. Like I don't know. Like,
you don't think it's like the polar ice caps melted and
I don't know what it means.
So
it might be. It means that there's just casual racism in the future as an expression of human aggression.
You might be right. To show that society isn't actually getting better, it's getting worse.
No, nothing's getting any fucking better.
No.
There's a very nice Pander Brothers panel break on this page and most of the others in this book.
All right. With Christine.
Yeah, we'll talk about panel breaks later, but we should also talk about the design in Dark Horse, the inside front cover. That's where all your credits and production things go, and they're all designed around like extreme close up of like an iris or something. Or
yeah, I think so.
Maybe a painting like of an iris. It's pretty intense.
I wonder if it's Matt's eye.
It's an iris because on the front cover are the Tujiro eyeballs.
Right. Yeah.
That he collects. When we were reading,
in the back too is the eye.
Oh, there it is.
The Grendel.
Yeah. Probably the same thing. When we were reading Behold the Devil, on the montages of like what's to come, it shows Tujiro standing in front of the eyeballs. Right. And I was just like, I don't know what that is.
I forgot. Yeah, I forgot
is that
too.
A thing? And it's like, yeah, that's a thing, dude.
Well, that's what we're saying. We both hadn't read this for a long time, and then also we were talking a little before we started about how it's just it's a whole different feel, and it's different. Like the Hunter stuff, I felt like there's all this like these undertones, and there was like all this stuff to glean from every single panel. And here's like, but the Christine story is a little bit like fresher and smoother and less like, undertones, less little like things for us to grab. And it's kind of just like, here's her story, like get on board. And
it's much more straightforward.
Yeah.
It's happening in real time.
Right. And there's not like this stuff.
And there's no unreliable narrator.
Oh, that's true.
Right? It's not, is this bullshit,
Right. That was an interesting thing that your boy brought up in his video too, is like,
right.
Did any of this Hunter stuff even happen at all?
Yeah.
Because this is all we have is from his journal. So we don't know if any of it happened this way.
I think it's always appropriate to go back to Mike Moorcock. But in this book, unreliable narration is like the central motif, where the character, it's a found memoir about this guy's teenage years during World War I and like the Russian Revolution kind of stuff. And he paints himself as a child prodigy engineer who, like, as an 11-year-old invents like a rocket pack. And, the newspapers in Kiev reported on me, and I flew around, the St. Nicholas church 5 times. There's a newspaper report. And he keeps returning to like that Bubamycin throughout like the rest of his life as like, oh yes, of course I have my doctorate at 16. Didn't you read the paper in Kiev? So it's relative in a way.
It's like Donahue. It's like Donahue in this.
It's like the Donahue thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
but this is much more straightforward, and I think that's one of the reasons why like the introduction of like the vampires is kind of easier to accept. Like when you're reading Devil by the Deed and suddenly Argent shows up, it's like a needle scratch. Like it's like I could accept uber creature mutant brain, but a immortal werewolf. You know, what? But here it's like you're really like along for the ride and getting it as it happens.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
All right, so cool. Next page, she gets to her seedy motel, the Tri-Cylinder Inn, and she's just kind of like, I just need to like get in here. The driver was talkative, like, you know, we're really getting like a play-by-play of every little thing she's doing. You know, she's getting her key. She knows the troops there, and she's like, I'll start this work as soon as I can get this shower. And then we see her showering.
Shower I can almost taste.
Right.
Now, to quote whoever it was, whether it was Wally Wood or Todd McFarlane, my only thought on the shower is, when in doubt, black it out.
Yeah, right. There's some boob there.
Yeah, the like weird yoga judo pose in that third to last panel took me a moment to.
Like of her playing with the fork.
I don't know what I was looking at for a second. I thought it was like a little statue on the desk or something.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of an abstract envision of, I guess, I mean, maybe it was like this artistic choice of like, we want to do more, but there's so much text to fit in that we're going to have to just have a,
and I think,
quick
and there's
little...
only so much time. Like,
right.
Like everyone's got to go. One thing that's really cool is that in the second to last panel where she's having her coffee with the art section, Tom Vincent puts one of these gradations on the caption.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is really cool. And the comment is that when she sees Tujiro, her throat tightens up and it feels like there's seltzer in the back of her throat. And you know, there's some like young man purple prose stuff going on in the wordiness of this comic, written by a 25-year-old. But that was a fantastic sensory detail. I was, as someone who drinks 5 seltzers a day, I thought it was just great.
You're like, I get that.
I was like finally a book for me.
Yeah, so she's you know, she's doing her research. She sees that the Kabuki theater is there, aloof and chic and ready to break into his even rigid dance at any moment.
You know, the one thing that I think was sort of like my biggest dig on the Panders, and it's tough. They do such a great job.
Right.
Speaking of boy geniuses, it was about the acting that Christine was doing, and it just didn't seem believable to me that this character was in this sense of desperation, which is what the central feeling is, because she doesn't ever like freak out. She's very like collected and like, all right, I know exactly what I have to do, and she's super methodical about it.
Yeah.
And here there was a little bit more of that, like the way, you know, it's just like, wear like the rings around the eyes, but like that's not what this book is. Like,
right.
Like she's hot, you know, like that's
and like fresh and ready to to go.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yep. And so she sets out on her way. She doesn't like in San Fran that you can't walk everywhere. Yeah, she wishes it was things were less hilly, and that she had.
You must know that city pretty well.
Not pretty well. I've been there a couple times, but we did go there for Tanisha's birthday in October, which was pretty fun.
It's like your Mecca, basically.
I mean, yeah, as far as the Grateful Dead goes.
I thought that the way that I've never been there. I thought that the way that they like did the hills in a number of panels, including this one, was
right. Yeah, that's very
really cool.
San Francisco. I did go and see Ween there. That's this poster here.
Ah, there you go. And then the you know, these like little figures in that background, they kind of get like more and more Keith Haring-y.
Right, but still stylized, like with the pointy hair and stuff. And
there's a bunch of those, like, and I think I remember the Panders mentioning Keith Haring in probably in the what is it, comic Alter Ego or what, the Tomorrows?
Oh yeah.
Back issues.
Right.
I remember them mentioning Keith Haring, and I was like, that's not really you know, like they mentioned the other guy, Patrick Nagel, and I said, oh, it's like Pat Nagel meets McFarlane. But here I am really seeing that. And there's a few parts where there's like a part later on where the background kind of abstracts in like a Keith Haring way.
Mhm.
And I sort of jokingly referred to it as I read it as Funky Town.
Yeah.
But then I realized that like there are, and it might be because of Jay Geldof, or it might be because like, oh, this is something that works, and that Matt does a little bit. But there are parts in God and the Devil where things get really geometric and blocky in very similar ways to like all the tech, like like art design and production design in here. A
Mhm.
lot of it like carries over into God and the Devil.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So another interesting change here from the Dark Horse to the Kamiko, they changed the lettering on the marquee here.
Oh, yeah, it's more like italicized.
Yeah. And
Is the text the same?
It is opening night grand kabuki troupe with Tujiro 14.
Oh, very cool.
Mm-hmm. But just a little neater, I guess, is why you would do that.
On the rest of this page, she stakes out the back of the theater,
Mm-hmm.
and she does that by hiding behind a dumpster, and the dumpster is shown in like 4 panels out of 8 in the sequence, and I just like, well done. Like, I mean, sell it, you know?
Yeah, like because that's like showing where she is.
Yeah.
And so she sees one of Tushiro's men, his like bodyguards, that she dubs the Shark.
Mm-hmm.
And
that was the guy who kidnapped Anson. We saw him last time. He gets really ominous.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he has like a dead eye and a scar.
Right.
He
was like waiting outside their apartment when Anson was like,
yeah. Oh, he's such a. I mean, he's probably. I mean, in that close up, he's much creepier because of the detail.
Mm-hmm.
I really like this like diamond cut inset of her take as like danger. You know, I thought it's really cool.
Grendy sense tingling.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's cool. I like doing that too. I like doing those kind of close ups. Another one of Wally Wood's 20 panels.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And then she's like, okay. It felt good that they didn't know it. She's like, I watched them pull away, but like they were none the wiser to like someone creeping around out back.
Yeah, she's getting off on the proto-Grendeling.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Which you would. You absolutely would.
Hey, who could blame her?
All right. So then here she comes in. She grabs the door before it shuts. And, she goes in and she's like, oh, I hope no one sees her. But immediately our hero from the future, Brian Lee Sung, says, hey, now, I don't know this woman, but I wish I did. I'm the stage manager. I should know someone like you to walk in, you know? I should.
Jeremy Cox really brings a lot to this scene in terms of lighting and kind of just like making us feel like we're there instead of you know, whatever's going on with
there's
like
a lot
different.
There's a lot different in these in the theater background. Especially in the second page of the spread, page 5, panel 1, panel 2, like completely different. Like there's an actual background.
Oh geez. Oh yeah, there is a background just straight up added in.
Yeah.
I really like this second one of the first panel of Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Where there's just like soft different lights behind him that really kind of tells back. All of them. The
it's
light
like cinematic.
The exit sign. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like how you would like rack focus almost from like the background to the foreground kind of thing or something like that.
Yeah. There's good stuff with Tom Vincent, like this close up of Christine where he's got like the yellow highlight, the skin tone, and then
I actually like the coloring on the women's faces better in the Kamiko because I like the makeup and I like I don't know why you would take out the eyeshadow. It's such a distinctive feature.
It is. It's strange to me that, I mean, I feel like, yes, she would put on her makeup because she wants to like, as like an espionage thing.
Right.
But I'm still like, why isn't she like, if she's putting on this strong front, like, why isn't she like bugging out in her head? Yeah.
She's trying to play it all cool so that none of the other moving parts can feel that she is like freaking out because her son is probably dead. So she starts working her magic with Brian Lee Sung here. Brian's like, wait a second, I recognize you, Donahue, right? And she's like,
Right.
not again. And but then again, she's like, okay, let me use this to try to get what I want, try to get in on this cute boy.
I almost wish there was at least one panel of the Donahue show at the beginning of the issue
right?
one.
Dang it. Maybe there is.
Well,
maybe there's a flashback later or something.
Maybe you can write that story.
I'd love to.
Pager of just one Donahue.
Totally do. Oh yeah. Do the Phil Hartman Donahue.
Yeah, so she's trying to get in. When I was reading this, I was wondering, here. Okay, this is what I realized. Brian works for the theater, not for the kabuki company.
Right, of course.
Which I always thought.
Okay.
So it's like he doesn't know anything,
No, he doesn't realize that they're creepy as hell. He just knows that they got sold out shows and he's trying to produce the hell out of it.
Yeah, my former reading was always that Brian was like a touring member of the Tujiro. He was just like he didn't know anything.
Right, like maybe he was a tour manager.
This guy's really good at his job.
I do want to draw your attention to the last panel on the second page of the spread, page 5. Toolmate in the box. It's a little toolbox with legs and an arm to hand you the tools you need.
Yeah, this is a place where where I think Tom Vincent kind of gets the upper hand because it's so far back that giving it a simpler treatment kind of like the statement is this is not really important in this panel, and then also like every panel of Christine, like the pander's just like she's more stunning as a cartoon as far as cartoon characters go in every successive panel. Sort of like leaning into this
especially in this scene that she's using
abstraction kind of thing. Yeah, she's using her wiles, but
exactly
she's sort of always doing that in this issue. At least.
Yeah, she kind of. I mean, that's just like Hunter did too, using his smarts and using his brains and his celebrity to get these little things, plant these seeds for later Grendel.
Yeah, and in this case, it's tickets to tonight's show and an interview with Tujiro.
That's right. Yeah, on the next page. On vacation, they continue their almost meet cute, if you will.
Yeah.
And so we were talking about the coloring here on this ticket business card.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, I also want to talk about the girl with the toolmate.
Love it.
Tom Vincent does the same thing where she's now in 3 different tones of orange, and I think it also continues to work.
It seems like the default hair color is this like orange.
And the default haircut is kind of like what's his name? Who's the guy from The Cure? Smith? Robert Smith?
Robert Smith.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I always think of that South Park episode, Robert Smith. That was like season 1, but
I don't know about that. Yeah, we were talking.
He fights Mecha Godzilla and stuff. You remember that?
I'm about
and Barbara Streisand
behind. South
well, good because it was from season 1. It's such an old reference. Anyway.
I don't know. Yeah, I think that. Okay, so I just dissed Jeremy Cox. So let's give Jeremy Cox a few compliments here. The second to last panel, the way he kind of does this neutral background and the color holds on the white as the ticket is presented.
Oh, right.
Chef's kiss, Jeremy Cox.
Chef's kiss. I gotta mention, because like I would love to do this. The way the Pander Bros have this cable breaking the panel border and wrapped around the panel border.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love that shit.
Yeah.
That's great stuff.
I saw it on a second view and I said, Eli's gonna love this.
You're absolutely right. That's my favorite.
But I will say that this this second panel face, hair, and chin break. Let's talk about this. All right. So like there's absolutely no need for a panel break to be here.
Right. But like you said, it's it's young.
It's
young
style.
people.
Yeah. It's like it's feeling yourself out. Okay, so let me transport my brain into Eric Larson's for a moment, because when Eric Larson like fires off his like 15 things not to do if you don't want me to like if you don't want me to give you a bad portfolio review.
Mhm.
When he talks about panel breaks, the thing that he says is that it should only be the thing in the plane closest to the camera, right?
Gotcha.
So that you don't get like a confused 3D effect. So
Ah,
here
that
his
for sure
chin
happens.
breaks, but his clipboard is getting cropped.
Yeah, that's
I don't,
interesting because that
I don't know what these
much
22-year-olds were thinking. Yeah.
just
But
look cool.
look at on the opposite spread, the way that he does it with like the foot stepping out is like a really cool way of doing it. But then there's
Right.
other stuff.
And
But the foot works really well.
and his stick too works really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Cool.
It reminded me of, there's like this kind of relatively new 3D film effect where you basically put panel borders on a screen, like where you put like what's it called, letterbox,
Oh yeah, letterbox.
like
yeah.
where you put like black up here and down there, and then something in the image pops through and it creates a 3D effect without. It's so cool.
Right, dude. On the original Blu-ray release of the new Ghostbusters movie with Leslie Jones and Kristen Wiig and all them, they had it letterboxed.
I'm waiting for I'm gonna see it through my 8-year-old daughter's eyes for the first time.
Okay.
That'll in
I
8
love
years
it.
from now.
I love it.
Well, I can't wait to love it either, but I haven't seen it yet.
Well, they had it letterboxed, but then the ghosts would fly out of the letterbox and they would use the proton packs and they would shoot like outside of the letterbox, and it gave that really cool 3D effect that you're talking about.
And that's in the movie. That's not like a special feature.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it originally like in this Blu-ray version, and like I have it
That's
now
so cool.
off of iTunes, and it's not that way. So it must have been a special release that I first saw.
Isn't that an amazing effect to achieve?
It's so perfect for.
I don't know how. I'm not an editor, but it's a little bit, a little bit of masking, this and that,
Yeah,
Come
it
on,
really amps it up.
Hollywood.
You're like, oh my God, how did they do that? And it's
How did they do that? And it's like,
you're looking at a ghost. How did they do that?
I hope the guy that invented that made $1 million fucking.
I'm sure he didn't. I'm sure he got it.
I'm sure he did not. Yeah.
From there.
Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this ticket and the perils of plot script Marvel method approach.
Okay. So in the Kamiko we see the ticket, and in the first panel it's pink, and the second panel it's clearly the same thing, but it's white. And in the Dark Horse, it's both.
And Brian says, "Here, let me give you my card."
Yeah, let me give you my card too. Call me tomorrow. But it's like, it's like you say, the Marvel method. It was kind of like, he should be holding like two things.
I'm sure no one was smoking weed when they, were putting.
Why would you ever?
It looks great either way. It's fantastic. You also noted that there's like notes added, like Jeremy Cox adds
some like
his
script.
clipboard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really cool.
That's cool, and you can see it. I mean, 19-year-old villager. It says, they really made a little script.
Oh, there's really kabuki stuff in there.
Yeah.
You know what else looks great is the theater marquee on the next page.
Yeah. Again, they changed it up. They updated it.
Oh, that's so weird.
Yeah, they changed the text. Yeah.
There's just like so much more. The image is more appealing. The mood is clearer.
I think that even what's relayed here, like in the crowd scene in the bottom of page 7, is like he was able to hypnotize Anson and like send out this thing to him to bring him here. I think he's also using that a little more subtly on all the audiences to make sure that there's always like a sold out theater and that people are ranting and raving when they're done, like so that everyone loves, like so part of his fame,
regardless of how good he is at kabuki.
He's making it so that it's an unforgettably the greatest all-time show of their lives.
And also like it's such a left field thing to be the greatest thing of all time, but when he does it, it's great,
Yeah, it looks like we got a little Matt Wagner in there too, behind the lady with the headphones.
Oh, there he is. Yeah,
very
interesting.
Kevin
glasses
Matchstick hanging in there.
Yeah. It's I like how the figures kind of get more abstract as they go back. I kind of wish that the captions didn't cover up these people in the first 2 rows that have all the detail on them.
Right, but it's kind of like
that's quibbling,
It's like there's kind of like a circular like question mark almost.
It fits in his foot. Anyway, he's sneering at all of them. The bitch.
Oh yeah.
Great.
And he sneered, the bitch. All right, so next page, she's thinking more about Tujiro and his dastardly plan and his how disgusting he is.
Mm-hmm. And when I first looked at panel 1, I know I should have realized it, but I didn't realize that it was part of the show. I thought it was like we were going to get some background on Tujiro the 13th.
Yeah, I thought that too.
But
it's a different character in the play.
Yeah, but with Jeremy Cox, it's the way he treats the spotlight. It's much clearer. I do think that Tom Vincent with the pure magenta in panel 3, I think that has a little bit more power for some reason.
In the Kamiko.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time keeping the names straight. Like I want to make a note.
Right. She's just kind of putting together, what horrible things. Is he a slaver? Is he a pimp? Is he a murderer? What did you do? And she's then Go ahead. This on Kamiko, this last panel is the one I was talking about earlier, where it's all done with like graded screens.
Oh, okay.
And it almost has an airbrush look to it.
For sure.
And I just feel like the difference it's a great drawing, by the way. It's like, she's exquisite. Geldof is razor sharp. The acting is like, she's like, we finally get a little bit of emotion out of her acting. And I feel like if the more that I get this effect in Kamiko, the more it feels like it feels like this.
Right.
And this is what I'm expecting. And the cut with black 164 Kamiko colors are not always doing, what they should. This panel
is doing it.
Fucking fire, dude. I love it.
Yes. And I don't like the orange nearly as much in the Dark Horse.
No, but the one thing that Jeremy Cox does that's really well is he throws a shadow from the spectacles. He casts a shadow on her face.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. But it's just like this oh God. Tom Vincent makes this one it makes it look easy, baby.
Yeah.
At least in this panel.
So she's just grinding at him and going like, she's like, you son, I know my son is dead. But then she's like, okay, now I got back to the plans. She leaves early. She gets out before the show is out, and she kind of pulls her car and hides it behind the same dumpster she was hiding behind, I guess. And so about an hour later,
she got a great spot.
Yeah, about an hour later, Tujiro exits with the shark, and they take off. And here we see the first sign of these Grendelized car lights, and so
they look great.
I love it. And so they're leaving, and they kind of the car is not going straight to wherever it's going. It's kind of driving around, and just in case anyone's following them, but they're none the wiser to they're actually being tailed, or so they think.
So I'm looking at the Dark Horse version for the first time and I have Kamiko in front of me.
Okay.
And as I'm looking at this sequence in Kamiko, my thought is, what would make this page look a lot better is a fucking airbrush. and I think Jeremy Cox really, really, really kills it.
Yeah, with the lights on this one.
Yeah,
for sure.
This last panel is like straight out of Blade Runner.
Yeah, they pull right up to the window and drop him off right off his porch.
Yeah, you notice that there's like in Kamiko, there's like on the dashboard, there's this like pink crosshair thing, and they cut that out.
No, that's in both.
Is the crosshair in there?
Mm-hmm. It's just got like a red shine.
Maybe I can't. Maybe my eyes are failing me. Anyway, I really like the second to last one of like the hills. Like like when I looked at the hills, I was like, oh man, they need an airbrush on this, and like Jeremy Cox does a pretty good job on that. Yeah, it's a little too flat.
Yeah, and so they're following her, and she's like, okay, now I know where he lives. Now I know where he's staying. Perfect.
Right, and it's that they took like a hour-long joyride and the Tujiro's hotel is only 9 blocks away. So
Right. To throw off any sense.
maybe, I mean, or that could just be her paranoia talking.
True.
Maybe he's just an innocent kabuki star.
All right. So the very fact made me wonder if the monster was planning to strike again soon. So she's kind of like noticing his like patterns and like what's happening, and he's not much for the late night scene, and yet the security doesn't seem that tight. She's watching him, and she found him. Again, the viewer.
I think on the action figure they're called Spinox.
Oh yeah, on the Christine action figure?
On the card. I don't have it, but I don't have the toy, but but yeah, it's definitely got that Empire Strikes Back, Terminator vision kind of thing.
And it's interesting that they didn't do it in the Kamiko comic, but it's like on the cover, like that's the Spinox view right there,
Right. Yes.
So they did it on the cover, but they didn't do it I guess they did the red on the interior.
I mean, that's a place where you could have used a reverse if you had a parallel line reverse screen tone.
Right.
You could have done it with it. If you had this really specific, the most specific screen tone you could imagine, it would work out just fine. Why didn't you guys have it? Yeah, I think that Jeremy Cox just like, this is obviously a page where, like, I'm looking at this page and the last one, and I'm like, man, I should get these Dark Horse books. They look fantastic.
I'm gonna try to finish the run.
Yeah.
So after following him around and thinking of all this stuff, what she wants to learn, and how she's gonna tail him.
She drives home through Funky Town.
Oh, that's what you're saying. It does look like that.
That's Funky Town. Very, very Keith Haring.
Yeah.
And we would always talk about when Matt goes extra wide, the figures look kind of like marionettes. Like there's no
no neck.
There's no neck. It's kind of like an extension of that.
Yeah. So she gets home and man, she loves these showers. So she takes a shower again to I guess like clean the detective off of her. And then she's like, dang, I need to dye this My Little Hunter stripe out of here. But she's not gonna do that. And then she's like, okay, I need to like check in. I need to talk to my friend Ginny.
Yeah.
Gives her a call, and Ginny's like, Now I don't like the redesign of Ginny in the Dark Horse books.
It's funny because her apartment looks great in Dark Horse, and she looks great in Kamiko.
Yeah.
There's too much harmony in Dark Horse between her palette and the apartment's palette, or something. It's like that. One thing that's also going on is that the telephone balloons have this like 25% yellow on them in Dark Horse.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I love color coded balloons. I think for characters who are off panel, it's great. But I think that the way that I use it, which might be a little OCD, is that you have to follow through. So if someone is going to be off panel and speaking, or they are off panel, you have to connect it by 2, right? So that you can see. So the green electronic voice belongs to the green balloon in the next panel.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, you got to guide the reader,
I'm a crazy person.
That's true as well. And so, she's talking. So Ginny's telling her that like the cops came looking for her. Did she get there yet?
What? You're wanted.
What do you mean I'm wanted? Next page. Oh, yeah. In the Kamiko, we get another one of these great Matt Wagner ad breaks.
Yeah.
Who is the Fisher King? And Grendel is waiting for you.
It's on a nice plum background.
Yeah. Oh man, real missed opportunity on Ginny's pants here, Dark Horse. What the heck? This is crazy. In the Kamiko,
they turned it into camouflage.
They did. They turned it into like pander camouflage, but when it really should be like these insane stretch pants. Ah man.
Yeah. The thing that I noticed on this page was that the highlight that Tom Vincent puts in Ginny's hair it gets kind of cooler. It's 3 times it gets cooler and cooler and cooler, and it's kind of like, you described it like kind of Jack Kirby-esque. It's like Kirby technology,
right?
In a way, it's so cool, and then they just like get rid of it,
completely rid of it. And so here we see them talking, and she's kind of like, yeah, they're looking for you. The Grendel, the Hunter Rose mask and fork has been stolen, and they know you got the key card, and it's I mean, they have to talk to you because you're obviously the number one suspect. You're Grendel's number one. You're the one that had the key. And she's like, no, I dropped the key in.
Yeah, but
Like,
she's very like, oh, the fork's been stolen. What? Like,
Yeah, oh, really?
How could that happen?
yeah, she's got to do it.
Great.
And I mean, we can kind of see, I mean, we do see here that she's being recorded. Her line has been tapped. Now, we don't know if Ginny's wise or not, but
No, come on.
you don't think she's wise.
No.
Yeah, they just tapped her phone. They're like, we know she's going to call here. And they have this really old school recording. And I think maybe this is like a choice that was made, a storytelling choice, because like if you went for something too futuristic, it might not imply that it's being tapped. So they went for this like old school way to show
it might not hit the trope.
Right. Exactly.
Right? But it's also like the exact same like machine that Larry Stoller brings in. It's like Larry's like, but all the like details, like the way the tape is like running from reel to reel.
Yeah, that's
like,
awesome.
Chef's kiss.
Absolutely
looks great. Now, one thing that I would say here, and I'll say it throughout the whole book, is that the panders, the women get more exquisite by the panel. I've already said it, like more and more and more beautiful and stunning. And I said it was like Mark Silvestri beauty abstracted in it's like that, and it looks like filtered through like Michael Golden, where it's cartoony, but it's realistic, but it's exaggerated, but it's super appealing. And then you can see that their interest in drawing the male characters is much, much lower.
Yeah. They're super generic coppers here. And
who can blame them? You said something about the donut, like the flavor.
Oh man, yeah. In the Kamiko, the donut is just straight chocolate. But in the Dark Horse, he was like, yo, I can do better with this donut. You think these are obviously computer color, so you can get in there with like the thing, and he's got, it's chocolate with sprinkles now. There's like multicolored sprinkles. One more narrative thing I want to point out is here Christine is like, it couldn't have been me. I was drunk, remember? I was drunk that night. Remember, I was drunk. Don't you remember you saw me? So like she's trying to lay in her what's it?
Her alibi.
Yeah. All right. Cool. And now we see the next wrinkle of Argent. Right. And we got this smoking man behind Argent. Who is this?
I'm gonna ask, is that Wiggins? Is that who becomes Wiggins?
I see. I can't remember, but
you can't. Yeah, I can't tell you, Ben. I can't remember it.
No, yeah. You're probably right. I love Argent's little kitty here.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. Just love it.
So when an interesting thing happened here to me was that I was like, oh man, Argent, cool. And then that's it, sir. And I'm like, oh man, they're talking to Argent. They gave Argent a promotion. Like we've been talking about how like we would joke about how we wanted to see Argent's office, or like, Argent with reading glass. Like we wanted to see this. And it was like, no, he lives in disgusting, rotted out hovels. And so it would seem as if like the end of like Hunter Rose's life, like the cops pick him up and they're like, dude, we got to get you in the hospital. And like, we gotta like,
yeah, we need you.
We need to set you up a little bit more comfortably. So now he's got his own penthouse.
He's got a penthouse. He's got an office.
Probably living in Hunter's place.
Dude, maybe. He's got a robe on. He's like chilling, and he's got his kitty.
He wears clothes. It's crazy. He's got a cup of coffee.
He loves, so he's
been domesticated.
Yeah. And he's talking about what he sees in Hunter, or what he sees in Christine, that she is like embracing the Grendel.
It was based on the way that she's obviously playing Ginny. Like the friend who is closest to her to like try to reach out and protect, and even potentially incriminate. Like Ginny doesn't know that she's been tapped, but she must know that if she like makes that call, that she's crossing a legal line, given that an investigation's going on.
Right.
It's like the one friend who like, in this world who cares enough about her, in a world where everyone knows her face from Donahue and everyone wants a piece of her, to use her for the Grendel myth making.
Yeah.
Here's one real friend, and he's like, yeah, dude, she's just playing with her and toying with her. She's Grendel.
Using her, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so then we flash over to Christine, who is like talking about how she sleeps with the fork now. She needs to feel it in her grasp in order to like get to sleep. And so, she is really starting to embrace this persona. She's again on the hunt. She's trailing the shark. Tonight she's going to follow the shark as he leaves during a performance. She's like wondering, like, where's he gonna go? Oh, and then she's like, okay, North Beach. He's going to the seedy porno town, and he's gonna get his freak on.
Yeah, I think that on this whole spread, Jeremy Cox has the upper hand, but that's not to say that Tom Vincent doesn't do a very nice job with like this kid in the parking lot. He's got the light from the headlights on him that looks really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then like this blue light that's on the rim of Christine is another one. And then this the panders do a very nice job with the break in the last two panels. I mean, everything's breaking here.
The lights, the fingernails,
everything's
the shark.
breaking. Yeah.
I love it.
That looks really cool. But I think ultimately, like, Jeremy Cox takes this from like a book that is good to a book that, like, I'm looking at it now on my screen. I'm like, I think I need this book.
Yeah.
I have this version. Now I need this one. Very cool.
Next page.
He's gonna get his freak on.
Mm-hmm. The shark is there, and he's cruising. He's cruising for some ladies, and he finds them, and she's watching him, and he's like, now is she looking for ladies or hunting? He passed by quite a few until he saw exactly what he wanted. He knows what he wants. And then she kind of follows him. They go into this hotel room, and Christine's kind of got this face like, there he goes. Like, I hung out for over an hour. He's definitely getting busy.
Yeah. It's very funny. Her expression in the Dark Horse is a little bit funnier than her because of the coloring is like the eye acting is like a little bit like, there goes my, like, that's it's very weird how that shifts a little bit. One thing that also happens between the two versions is that it is much clearer in Dark Horse that the girl in panel 1 is not the girl in panels 3 and 4.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right.
It's much clearer because they have, what it comes down to is they have similar, like, 80s style Pander Brothers, like, spiky haircuts.
Right, but they clearly have a different top, but it
doesn't
straight up
read. Yeah.
Right, yeah,
because it's because it's like doo-doo maroon in panel 1, and it's in Spinock vision in 3 and 4.
right.
So
She's got a very Marvel girl look in the Dark Horse with the green and yellow and red hair.
Who's Marvel girl? Oh,
just Jean Grey from back
Jean Grey.
Yeah.
Who's Marvel?
Come on.
I knew.
Do you know comics at all?
I almost passive aggressively left a comment to someone yesterday in the Kayfabe Ringside where, thanks for explaining this. I'm brand new to comics, but I didn't because I'm only a jerk in my head. I hope.
And to your friends,
But I think that this as soon as I looked at it here, I was like, oh, this makes a lot more sense.
So she spends an hour there just kind of waiting to see what happens, and then she sees him. She finally leaves around 3, and she follows him back to the hotel, and then she's like, ugh, I need to get to bed as well.
Can I say something crazy? Look at Kimiko, page 16, last panel. See that purple that they put on the cityscape?
Mm-hmm.
That purple appears frequently throughout this book, and it never does anybody any favors. It's it's always used as a background color, and it's always so like glaring and saturated, and like it's just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It's not just that, it's all the purples. Anyway, this book
the one time the purples worked really well was that one you said was like the amazing purple.
Right, where it's kind of like airbrushy.
All right, so he is, bed weary,
Mhm.
and so then she gets back. She was very tired, but then she notices that when she reaches back to her hotel room, there's a message for her on her phone.
No,
And
I think that it's. Is it? I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. It's that you need to call the front desk. There's a message for you.
right, yeah, exactly.
It's not a voicemail.
No, which and then in the Kamiko, we get to the Kamiko blimp. We get the hype page. Basically, we get a editorial from Bob Schreck talking about Halloween and how him and Diana enjoy Halloween. All right, so she's interested in getting the message, so she calls the front desk, and this is this first panel here on 18. Dark Horse definitely just makes it much more dynamic. But then she gets the message that says like, "A maiden you ain't, kiddo," and that's the message, and it's like, what? That's kind of. But she knew it's Regina. She knew it's like her buddy, because then we find out she had registered there with her maiden name, so that would be Christine
Powell.
That's right.
Which is odd because it's when I read that, I went back to this weird, hotel guy's first scene, expecting her to say, "I'm here. Yeah, I have a reservation for Powell."
Right. But there was nothing. There was
none.
So then she calls Regina and they're chatting. They're talking about it. And she's like, well, I had to like do a lot to track you down. And she's telling her the police came by again. They're looking for you. And this is where it almost seems like she is kind of being manipulated by the cops, because like,
oh yeah,
she found her and she's like, I don't know though. It's hard to know. And then she's like,
she's not presented as like a very thoughtful person.
Right.
And she's also presented as maybe not a very truthful person.
Right. And without motivations. So we don't really know where she's at.
I really like this, how the acting and the dialogue on Christine is fantastic here. The police came by again, and it's like, like you can feel the Grendel bubbling up.
Yeah, she's like, just okay, don't call me anymore. I see. They're like, they didn't get the key. The key didn't come back. Like, where is it? Mm-hmm. And she's like, that's what the cops do. They remain aloof, and but also they might have a bug on your line.
And also remember that Christine is like, she's worked with the cops. She's on the crime watch.
Right.
And Ginny is like arts and culture. Like she doesn't know what the hell she's doing.
Yeah.
This last drawing of Virginia is one of my favorites of the women in the book, because it's so well modeled. It's got that like 7/8 head tilt where you have to really distort the rear eye. Right. And I look at it and it reminds me for some reason of Jason Pearson.
Ah, yeah, okay.
Of just kind of how, because Jason Pearson kind of has that thing that Michael Golden does that I kind of described. Michael Golden, like the Nom era, Micronauts, Michael Golden, where it's very realistic. It's almost like a Pixar movie. It's realistic, but it's cartoony. You could touch it and you understand how all the curves of the forms work, but it's obviously a cartoon.
Right. So we entered the smoke-filled room where the cops are all like, okay, yeah, we're still listening, we're still right here. But then she's like, oh, damn, they made us. And then, Arjun's also watching all this in what seems like a daytime room in the Kamiko and like a nighttime room in the Dark Horse, which is the interesting color choice. But we also see that he has a lifetime of books, and he's got pretty sweet flat screen.
I think this is just Hunter's Place that thing.
It does seem like
that. I think one thing that's first of all, everyone always smokes. Everyone smokes in this book, even Christine.
Yeah.
And like, I love that the cops are in this smoky recon den. Aren't they just like in their office? Like they're not like, what's that movie? Oh, in remember the Dick Tracy movie where they have the bug in the lamp and the guys are like above the nightclub and Al Pacino's like climbing up on the table.
Oh yeah. It's kind of like that.
It's well, I mean, because I don't know anything about police work. One thing I noticed is that the the recording balloon is really oddly changed here. Like instead of like the phone like crackle, it's got this like rounded spikes, and then they change the color from pink to blue, blah blah blah. But one thing that I noticed is that in the first caption on page 19, both Christine and Virginia are speaking, which is which is really kind of weird, because it's the sort of thing where you kind of expect it to shift, and it does do that later on in the same panel.
Right, yeah.
But for this one, it's just kind of run on where they
because like that's how they hear it. They only hear kind of
right
one
how
thing.
they hear
That's
it. Yeah.
interesting.
So it kind of works both ways. It's just weird that they do it both ways.
Yeah, and man, Argent here really is. He's kind of like getting it, and he's like, "Did you notice how easily she considered the possible bug? And she is obviously weaving her friend's thoughts. She does not merely act like Grendel; she is."
So I had mentioned that earlier. Maybe I wasn't being careful enough with what Argent had to say.
Right,
I love this phrase, "weaving her friend's thoughts." That's very, only a cursed 400-year-old Algonquin werewolf would put it quite that way. But it's really, I think that this is a real, that line gives us a real kind of like narrative stake to put down, to be like, all right, this is where this is going. The glow in Argent's eyes is cool. I like it. There's just a lot more mood. I don't think that the Kamiko house colors are doing Tom Vincent a lot of favors.
Yeah. It's tough.
And
he's got his kitty.
It's tough. Life is so. Yeah, he's got his kitty cat. But what isn't hard on the eyes is these successive drawings of Christine Spar by the Pander brothers.
Right.
This is like just when you thought she couldn't get any more beautiful as far as cartoon characters go, this spread proves us wrong.
And here's another thing that you pointed out. In the Kamiko, she just has a blank business card there. But then in the Dark Horse, we see like that Brian had wrote his name. He wrote his name, Brian Lee Sung, on the back of the business.
Yeah, but it almost
card.
looks like they inserted staples as if it's like the back of a matchbook or something like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. But like, is that just detail on the card, or is
I don't know. It's not. I mean, it's a card, I guess, but it only has his name. It took me a moment to realize that it was L.I., and I thought it was Brian Forsung.
Oh yeah,
that was his 800 number. I was so confused.
100 Brian Forsung.
I was so confused. Oh man, Tom Vincent's coloring on her face here is amazing.
Yeah,
the yellow looks so good.
Anyway, and so
she knows that she's playing him. She's not only going to weave her friend, she's going to weave this schmuck who she doesn't even know.
Right. She is weaving all over the place.
Yeah.
So, but then Brian Lee Sung kind of just is like, fine, like I can't guarantee the interview, but we're having our cast party this Sunday. If you want to be my guest, you can come in and meet him.
I think that the attraction is that he is really quick on his feet. The first time they meet, he has some line, she's like, "Oh, I don't know you." He goes, "Well, I don't know you, and I'm the manager. It means I'm not doing a very good job." He's so suave. I read his lines like, "Man, I wish I was that, that classy." And the way he's like, "You have to be a guest, but you will be mine." And it's like, it's clear to see why, that there's a real thing. She's not expecting to fall in love with this guy who she's trying to use, but
right.
It happens. What do you think about his floating Zach Morris phone? I love it.
Yeah, it's wild. It's really funny, the places where technology shines through. Mm-hmm. And sometimes comics can get it right, and other times comics don't get it right. Oh, here's another. Another interesting one on page 21, the painting behind the like par cans that Brian Lee Sung's talking about on the right side. In the Dark Horse, they inserted some actual art.
What is that?
And you see it on page 22 behind the ferns. It looks like I don't know. That's interesting.
But the layout on 21 reminds me of that layout from way back from Primer.
It's Primer.
where from from Primer, where you meet like the real estate guy and Rachel Coleman and
Yeah.
the guy with the crazy jacket.
Yeah.
And this is a cool layout.
Yeah. So, I mean, and this is kind of cool. Like they're continuing their relationship, like you said, kind of like unknowingly with each other, that they're kind of like building something that each one is kind of like, I guess Brimley Sung actually doesn't have ulteriors.
I mean, this is the woman from Donahue, Eli.
Right. Yeah. This is a big.
Who wouldn't want to, like get in good with her?
And she's like, okay.
I find her her high heels and her manicured nails are quite impractical for the Grendeling that's about to occur.
Right. All right. So then she is ready. It is night. Tujiro enters the car on his way to the show. And she's like, all right, I've watched, I've timed it out. I've got it all going. I know exactly when they leave, where they are. Time for my first time to put on the mask and take on the role of Grendel.
Yeah.
Fires up a grappling hook up onto his porch. She starts to climb again with the high heels, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
She's like,
Can I make another note that on 22, this is probably like, this is the place where the different colored captions works the best. Not great, but pretty good. Like, that one where she says, I am Grendel is like kind of bright yellow.
Yeah.
But then also when she says, I'm going to act not as myself, has that like 25% magenta on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of, it really does punctuate, like, pay attention to this, or this is obviously important.
And on the panel there where we see it's like the side view of Christine with those really strong lines, it's very Bernie. I think it's very Bernie, and then the coloring is very different, and I think is like the coloring with the like blue shading.
Oh yeah.
on the hatching.
I can see
it's very like 80s comic book, and then
yeah,
it's really like you can really see like a time stamp.
Well, it almost in parts of the cheek where where there's a little bit of cross hatching, and like you said, it stands out because they never do this in this book.
Right.
It looks like Herb Trimpe or Trimp doing Rob Liefeld a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
except this is 5 years before all that shit.
Yeah.
And then another thing, you can see the Kimiko colors. There's a gradient where she pulls on the mask, and it's for some reason it's a little muddy, the yellow to orange, but the bright red on Dark Horse, it like really brings it home.
I love the way that the Panders do these like jagged lines and the shadowing and stuff like that in the Grendel mask there and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that there's a lot of like Jay Geldof goodness going in here. There was actually a panel somewhere where Jay Geldof, it looks like he's using a chisel tip, and you can very clearly see it's like inking on someone's hand, and you can very clearly see where like he's dragging the flat end. It's this one right here. It's on page 13.
Mm-hmm.
Panel 3 of page 13. I saw this and I was like, I have to show this to Eli. Look at the way that he inks like the tendon on the back of her hand.
Yeah.
And like that is like you're a guy who loves those chisels. That's the contrast between the chisel and then the flat edge and then
man. Oh, that's
crazy
awesome.
Zigzag.
I'm gonna practice that tonight, actually.
There you go. It's all about finesse, baby.
Yeah.
It's all about knowing how the tool is gonna strike and enter and exit and shift.
And that's exactly what she does with this grappling hook.
Oh, hey now. There's a nice Jeremy Cox puts a nice white color hold on the kind of kinetic tink,
right.
And I think that works quite well.
And more of that chiseling here in the porch. As she's climbing up, she's like, the wind came back. I smoke cigarettes, but I can still climb 10 stories.
Right. I must practice more of this Grendeling.
I was too entranced by the lair of the beast. And so she gets in, she sneaks in, really cool, sneaking around. Some just great art and, bonsai tree and stuff. So she comes in and then she's talking about the smells. Like, at first it's like the perfume that's on him, Then she slunks into his room, and then and then she gets the distinct smell of Tujiro. That it's
I have a
particularly hard to
question.
describe.
Is this like
Yeah.
a permanent suite that he has in this hotel, or did they like bring like? Is there just like a block of luggage? Like we're just gonna set the apartment up for you when we get there.
That's what I think. Yeah, I think like a character like Tushiro has these people that
Right.
follow him. Like they get the suite, then they go in and set it all up and stage
Yeah.
it for him, and then he comes in. Yeah,
Right,
absolutely.
staged exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like the way the smell is described. You know, I complimented like one of Matt's sensory details earlier,
right.
and then a bit like flowers, a bit like dirt.
Then there's like
Ooh.
some cinnamon on top. Or
Yeah,
something.
it's so
The
crazy.
room reeked of it. And then so she's creeping around, and so she sees this box with a big T on it, and she's like, okay, if you're gonna put your name on shit, let's check that one out.
Mhm.
So she reaches in, and she wishes she had started elsewhere. She opens up this box, and it's just vials of eyeballs.
I love when she opens it up. Both colorists are able to give a glowing. I mean, Jay Geldof is doing that with the radial hatching a little bit, but they both do a very different kind of glowing effect from it.
And they still both are able to give the eyes different colors too, like to show that they're different. Their irises are different. But then they don't say it straight out. But she's like, and then I saw it, and I felt it in my stomach, and what I got out of that is she's like, I know this eye anywhere. This is the beautiful eyes of my son that I used to look into, and then click, no, and that battle was short-lived, for it gave way to another, and here's Tushiro and his sharks busting in, and that's it. Boom.
There's some parts in. Was this colored after the hero defined? Like within a year after?
Yeah, probably.
Maybe. Yeah.
Not 2000.
There's a few parts on these last few pages where Jeremy Cox is putting a few different like grays and blues on the whites of her eyes, whereas like that really reminds me of more the coloring that was done in the Mage book than like anything else I'm seeing in here. It's maybe it's the subject matter, maybe it's the difference between the Pander Bros in the mid 80s versus Matt in the late 90s. This is a great. I really enjoyed this issue. This is really fantastic.
Yeah, man. And it's really starting to build up. And there's, I didn't get to read the the letters column, but we got cool stuff. We got a nice ad for this Bernie Moreau Dr. Robot special.
Cool.
That's a fun book.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's a good one. And then, oh man, the Grendel ad. I've never seen this 2-sheet poster. I don't have any of the gear on this. I don't have the hat, the Zippo, the shot glasses.
The hats, I mean, they're all cool. The hat's very cool.
The hat's bomb. Yeah. Oh man, what an ish.
Yeah, and then that blazing back cover. Wow.
Yeah.
It really holds a lot. It really holds like more meaning having finished the issue, obviously.
Yeah.
Very haunting. Wow.
Dang.
And that's her POV, of course. That's what she saw looking in. I wish it was blue though.
Oh well, yeah, I guess you're right. Just great book. And it's really rampant.
I'm definitely leaving this one like much more excited and satisfied and having a clearer understanding of like what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
Where what I should be thinking about as I'm reading this.
Yeah.
And I did with the first one.
You can really see the difference in size too. Like the Kamiko is just like, 0.3 something inches, a little bit bigger. Awesome. Ben, what a day. We're getting it.
What a day.
Yeah. Another great adventure with Christine Spar.
Yeah. Can't wait for more. Until
next time.
Yeah, man.
Devil by the devil in detail.
What do we call it? Friends of the devil.
All right. Take us out. Jazz is dead. Thanks, Ben.